It's been 3 hours. I'm hungry. Breakfast. I'm buying my coffee. Yes, you are. I bought last time. Chris pat Michael on the arms. I had a cup of coffee. That was all. Michael shook his head in disbelief. Hey, the systems work. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Chris placed his hand on Michael's back, leading him toward the front door. Chris looked aloud at the CSI and beat cops and said loudly, "Carry on, my wayward son." The harsh house was cheap, dirty and nearly empty due to the snow. The stereotypical retired guy was there, sipping coffee, reading the newspaper and loitering. It had all the charm of a funeral home. The air was so thick, you could cut it with a machete. Although Chris was depressed in general, since the loss of Abby and Connor, he still had a good appetite and a metabolism of a 15-year-old. He wolfed down a grand slam with scrambled eggs, bacons, and pancakes, with a glass of orange juice. He was on his second glass while Michael's worked on his office, and a ham and cheese omelette. It was warm inside. The joy and the stab like having the cops route, since the sheer number of daily crazies was something to take note of. So, however, Q4, Mr. Wondrak, cool name by the way, wanted us to fight the story. Scary pasta, Chris asked. Michael nodded his head. Have you read any of this story yet? Chris asked before gulping down some OJs. No, not yet. I figured do that at the station or at home. It looked pretty long. The guy who wrote it, Andrei Borisova, lives in Detroit and is originally from Bulgaria. He's here on a student visa, Michael informed Chris. Well, let's see it and giving him a call. I'll leave the tip, said Chris. Hey, how Carol and the kids? Yes, as he reached into his wallet and pulled out a $5 bill. Michael sat up from the booth and put his beige tinged clothes. They're good. Mickey Stan crawling yesterday and Ava left kindergarten. Carol is good, he nodded. That's good. Hey, you spend as much time as you can with those little rock rats. They grow up fast, Chris said, as he placed the open 5 under his glass. Hey, why don't you go home and lunch and spend it with Carol? I'll go back to the station and read the story. Just text me the link. I'll fill you in on the cliff note later, Chris insisted. Yeah, okay. Thanks, man. Michael thanks Chris' kind gesture. He felt pity for Chris. Everybody did. Every day they saw every form of violence under the sun. Shooting, stabbing, suicide, strangulation, decapitation, rape. Yet, other cops could imagine, didn't want to imagine, losing their family to the darkest of the street. Chris Priest has been that cop who had been the big prize. Then in a brilliant flash, he lost what was most important. The spark, the fire, that which kept him from losing his marble after seeing all of the ugly that he had seen, his saving grace. Chris sat in front of the dinosaur of a computer monitor, curiously peaked. He shared a dark, damp office with Michael toward the back of the station. It was out of the way, just perfect for Chris. The door was closed. He didn't want any interruption. The time was now 1:49 p.m. Looking at the text message from Michael, he typed in the link. It took him to the Scary Pasta website. A back breakout appeared with a title, a tale of him holding a lemon, in white letter. He began to read. He was captivated from the start. Every word, every sentence pulled him in. This story was on par with Stephen King's work. An hour had passed into the story when Chris received a text from Michael. Calling in a day at the hospital, Ava had an asthma flare. Talk later or tomorrow. Okay, buddy. Do what you need to do. One drag ain't going anywhere. Catch you on the flip. Thanks. With that, Chris resumed the story with all the insight of a child. It told of the writer horrifying experience of a creepy Cheshire cat-like smiling man who appeared throughout his life, holding up and offering him a lemon. He never said a word, just had a once buried yellow lemon. now rotting with the year. It was the same lemon every time. Upon each encounter, the author managed to get away. He traced this man throughout his family history, and after a visit by the same man appeared to his grandmother. The pattern continued throughout his life, growing up in Bulgaria until he moved abroad to study in the US, which is where he is now. Before you know it, Chris has finished the story, highly entertaining and completely oblivious to the time. It was now 5:04 p.m. Only then did he realize how full of his bladder was. After reading the entire story and all of the comments turned up no soul lead, he came to the conclusion that the killers or killer bombed up poor old Mr. Wondrack to recreate the ending of the story. But why? He would start with the scriber. Hey Mary, how it's going dear? I'm fine, just burning the midnight oil. Listen, I have a lad I want to contact, but need a trace. He's a Bulgarian national living in Detroit on a student visa. His name is Andrei Borisov, right? That's Andrei? A-N-G-R-E-I Borisova, like it's tough? B-O-R-I-S-L-A-V-A, yeah? How soon can you have it? Yeah, good. Thanks, sweetheart. You're a dog. It'd be waiting in my office. Michael wiped away the dream dust from his eye. All he wanted was just a few more hours sleep. But do that if Chris could manage to wake up every day and pull himself up out of his stupor, so could he. At least he still had his spark. His reason for it all. In a Mexican culture, family is everything. He turned his head to his right side where his wife Carol was living in peacefully, gracefully. There's where the light hit her face and shined her off her hair was poetry. It was dizzy with disdain. He turned toward her and kissed her on the forehead, placing his left hand on her hair, caressing the wavy black lock. He turned back and reached over, picking up his cell from the nightstand to check the time, 7:24 a.m. He unlocked the screen and began to take Chris. Good morning. Breakfast? You buying? Sure. Usual spot. 8:30. I'll be the dapper one in the leather jacket. You mean the leather mini skirts, right? Nice, come back. I got intel on the one drag case. Catch you on the flip side, amigo. Michael opened the glass door of the Harsh house and walked through. It looked like a retirement home dining room. He was greeted by the hostess, a smiling kitten, young, cute, full of life. She was hitting on R.A. Good morning, sir. Just one, she asked as she reached for a menu and pre-rolled silverware under the podium. No, ma'am. I'm meeting my buddy over there. The gentleman in the sheep leather jacket. Michael motioned in Chris' direction. Chris gave a confirming wave and nod to the hostess. Yes, sir, right this way, she invited and giggled. Michael followed her to the booth where Chris has just started on his Nutella crepes and scrambled eggs with a side of ham. Well, well, the Sundance Kid rides again, Chris greeted Michael while working diligently on his crepe. Good morning, Ole Man River. Michael shot back. You server will be right over to take your order, sir. The host then interrupted before taking her leave. Thank you, dear, said Chris. Chris looked up at Michael and asked, However, Michael looked at Chris. She doing better today, gave us quite a scare. Yeah, glad to hear it. Listen, don't feel bad, but I took over for you last night. I tracked out and speak to Borisawa. Read the story too. It was good, Chris explained. He had an albini. He in Detroit. He seemed horrified that somebody would have linked his pasta and used his. Wait, what? His pasta? Michael interrupted as he gave Chris his full attention. Yeah, how they refer to the story. What, don't give me any grief. They're good. I like them, Chris said as he looked Michael in the eye before taking another bite of his arm. Anyway, he wanted to take the story down, and I told him to leave it up. It may draw the killer out again, and we might be able to track his IP address. I also took one drag photo around the ferry club after I spoke to Borisawa. Michael began to laugh. You actually went to a gay bar, so did you get lucky? Chris now had an annoyed look on his face. If you mean did I the Nancy boy kissing one drag? Then yes, I did. Watson, several people confirmed his identity and current whereabouts. Chris retorted, no shit, who is he? Michael was interrupted. He is one Johnny Aguilera, 54, a retired U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant and recently deceased 8 months ago. Heart attack, Chris answered. He was now halfway finished with his breakfast. Just then a tall, weary man wearing glass approached the table to take Michael's order. Good morning, sir. My name is Abel. I'll be taking care of you today. What can I get you drink? Yes, coffee, black, and half the oatmeal with mixed fruit, Michael replied. The waiter repeated Michael's order and disappeared into the kitchen. So the autopsy result won't be in the 72 hours. Foley late now is going back to the station and researching the scary parts of the website. See if the killer has posted anything new on there, breaking or whatever, Chris suggests before gulping down the rest of his tall glass of orange juice. Yeah, sounds like a plain man. So, how did I go at the gay bar? Anyone try and pick you up?